I'm starting to think Random Review is cursed because every time I try to do a new episode, something crazy goes on here and I have to delay everything. But it did give me an impromptu vacation to recharge the batteries and get in the mood to talk about some toys again. And this time no intro gag because the toy we're talking about has a lot going on. We need all the time we can get. This is eHobby ConvoBat, a first for me. I've never had an eHobby exclusive before, but as eHobby figures go, available at Hobby Link Japan and a few other online retailers thanks to special deals. Hoo-hoo. So let's take a look. It is a repaint of the Titan's Return Mind Wipe mold, so if you are familiar with that toy, pretty much the same thing going on here, though of course this is an homage to the original Optimus Primal toy, which was not the gorilla, it was a tiny little gray bat. Yeah, it was a 2-pack thing. It was a promo release. It's a little weird, so it is what it is. And this is one of those repaints that I didn't think they do, especially because hey, we don't have BotCon anymore to do crazy repaints like this. I'm thrilled that this actually happened because I was so wanting it to happen. But yeah, it is the same mechanical bat, which does make it somewhat inaccurate to the original Optimus Primal. But hey, it still gets the point across. More importantly, it's very different from Mind Wipe. That's going to set them apart greatly. That's what I appreciate in a repaint. Speaking of repaint, look at all of the gray. It is cast in the light gray plastic, and all the dark gray is painted over, even on the hinges, and that's soft plastic on that hinge. That's a really careful place to put paint, but, you know, eHobby is kind of crazy like that sometimes. Yeah, so that's a ton of effort going into there. We also have a very nice deco here on the bat head. You can see the teeth have been painted. That's a very tiny detail to include, entirely unnecessary. They did it anyway. Ears gray, eyes yellow, and a little bit of tongue in there, also painted in red. Exceptionally well done. So you have that going for it as well. Now, I'll give you the quick articulation rundown. Aside from the jaw opening and closing, as you just saw, all the hinges do allow you to get a little bit of wing flapping if you do want to have him in a little bit more of a dynamic pose. That is entirely possible. Also, his legs are going to be the ball-jointed shoulders of the robot mode. So if you want to undo a few tabs from transformation, you can get a little bit of range out of the legs too. Very, very nice. Also, holes here on the wings for storing the weapons. Now, the weapons are very much indicative of the robot mode, so we're going to save it for there, but, you know, just imagine a sword going through there. We'll talk about that when we get to it. There are some downsides to this, however. Now, you might have noticed that his ears are just a little bit wonky on mine. They're wonky on a lot of people's. eHobby made a super nice box with this really cool artwork on it, and it's a fine little nice little packaging until you open it up and realize that it's just a cardboard, you know, just a cardboard box insert, and ConvoBat just kind of tucked into a ball in a plastic bag and thrown into it. There's no plastic shell to protect him from warpage. There's nothing protecting his parts, so you get really horrible warping like that to his wings. You get a little bit of warping there to his outer wings. Yeah, pretty much anything that was soft plastic on him was a little bit vulnerable because the packaging was a little bit slipshod. Well, this set has a lot of effort going into it. Packaging, not one of the sources of effort. So let's get that out of the way. Now that we've discussed it, we can go ahead and get to some real features, which is opening up the belly, the translucent orange. We have a cockpit for the Titan Master / Headmaster to go. It's a little bit tricky getting something out of this one too, so bear with me as I try to tug his little head out of his body. Jump cut, his legs came off when I tried that. As you can see, he is a tiny little Optimus Primal, or Optimus Prime, whichever one you imagine it to be. He is very tiny, nevertheless. This is a repaint of the Sentinel Prime head, so that's where you get a lot of that angled look to his mouth plate there. It's also where you're going to get his actual head once we get to robot mode, which kind of goes more into the primal design, I think. Yeah, but just like most of the ones from Japan, he is done up with plenty of paint, right down to very tiny paint job on the eyes. So, very good. And then, yes, it's the usual Titan's Return ball jointed shoulders that only go up and down, and then the double hinge for the legs in the seated position, and the ball jointed head. The hips are very loose on this, so I get the feeling this is more of a late run mold situation, as sometimes these weird exclusives tend to be. But, is what it is. So we get that out of the way. Let's go ahead and move into the transformation in the robot mode. So first off, unpeg this and get those legs straightened out and just get those out of the way. So move to the back. All this unpegs. These don't peg in very tightly because of the soft plastic, so don't worry about them too much there. I'm going to undo the head and fold down. This lets us get to the legs. The legs, of course, being the best part of this transformation. So getting these wings out of the way first so we can have full range of motion here. And here we go. So the legs, all those hinges wrap all the way around. Peg hole goes right against the side of the knee. And then this folds in, and then you're looking for that tab into that slot in order to finish it up. And the wing becomes a full leg. This is a really clever piece of engineering, and it still works pretty well, even in spite of some of the plastic being a little bit warped on him. Still works, still good, still really like that. Get those ankles into position. They're a little bit weak on mine, so that's going to be interesting. Down comes the arms, folding all the way around, and then rotating, and then flipping out the hand. And we can do the same thing over here. Well, we can do it. We have to do it. Otherwise, he's only going to have one arm. And you can't really have an Optimus Primal with one arm. It's not Gohan or anything. Whew. DBZ reference. It's late here. I'm a little weird. Okay, so all of that is done. We have all this shored up. Fold up the head however you want. Get the wings in whatever position you like. And then go ahead and double fold the legs of the Titan Master in order to plug the head into place. This is where we get our completed ConvoBat in his finished robot mode. And yes, this is where we definitely get the Optimus Prime look to him. Yeah, the ConvoBat had, or the original Optimus Primal, did have plenty of blue to it. The red's a little bit off. There's some in the design, not a whole lot, but about as accurate as you're going to get for the mold. So, taking a closer look at the head, you can obviously tell, yes, it's the Sentinel Prime sculpt. This is where Titans Return, the design play pattern, really had a lot of advantages. You could pretty much just come up with tons of different repaints like this that all had little tricks and head swaps, and you could have gone forever making repaints using all these different heads and different bodies and just kept pretending they're different characters. It takes a little bit of restraint not to actually go that route, so it kind of works for you. So yes, he is very well proportioned. He looks very nice. I'm still a big fan of this toy. Everything on him still looks and works pretty well. I do like how the torso has been redone to kind of invoke the bat head from the original, which would have rested on the chest. That is very nice. Also, tons of blue here, including some blue paint on the bicep in order to create the illusion of all blue arms, even though it still has to be the bat leg. Lots of attention to detail here on the legs where we get some grills as well as some silver. Plenty of blue down to the leg. Again, detail replicated, or at least improvised from the original. Yeah, exceptionally well done. And again, very different from Mind Wipe. This is good. Going to go into articulation so we can get into accessories and everything else this toy does, because, oh boy, we aren't even close to done. Ball jointed head means full motion there. Great motion here in the shoulder, as well as an extra hinge there at the torso. You have a bicep rotation, 360 degrees, and a double elbow. I love a double elbow on a toy. Full waist articulation, full universal hip rotation, good 90-degree knee bend. At the ankle, you have a back and forth rocking, which I wish was a tighter joint. It's just really loose on mine. I get the feeling this is more of a late run mold. But yeah, for the most part, exceptionally well articulated and working exceptionally well as a character. Now, here's where the release gets really interesting. The original Optimus Primal was known for having two twin swords, kind of like cutlasses. Well, we don't really have that, but what they did was they went to Prime Wheeljack and stole his katanas. So now we have a pair of these, complete with his little runes on the sides, which can now mount into his hands like so in order to give him his twin-bladed swords. Now, these are soft plastic, so they do have a little bit of warping to them, at least on mine. So, again, it's a buyer beware thing. But yeah, I'm thrilled that they went that extra route in order to make sure he had his correct weaponry. Now, this is how you're supposed to use him, and because his hand hinges upward, you can get a good forward pose from the sword like so, and that looks really cool, actually. So that's a unintentional bit of articulation that is good for a swordsman. That said, he also has these pegs on the forearms, and, you know, I don't know what it is. I really like the look of these swords done up like arm blades. And there's just something, I think, a little bit more thematic bat-wise to just having these big fangs hanging off of the arms. You know, maybe that's just me. So that would be typically it, but we go a little bit further, introducing a tiny little Optimal Optimus. You'll forgive me as the name escapes me, because this is a little drone unit. He has his own name. Cannot remember it. It is the Ape Face Titan Master vehicle, and it is an incredibly clever little repaint. This thing is adorable and charming, and yeah, this is almost worth price of admission on this action figure. So it is just like the old one. It does still transform into his jet mode. If you want a little bit more accurate to Optimus Primal, yeah, you put the jet wings out like that. And then, yes, he still has the handle. So he still works as an accessory, and of course he can still pilot the Titan Master should you want him to. But, you know, why would you really want him to do anything besides just be this awesome little transmetal gorilla? I don't know why, but it is an extra little bit of play value, and it's an extra nod they really didn't need, and they still went to it. Love that. And I'm going to move Primal back again because we're still not even done. On top of all that, we also get another headmaster, and this one is Meg Alligator, based on the Crocodile Megatron, also from the Beast Wars original release 2-pack. This is a really weird one. Again, we're having a little bit of molding issues. On mine, the right arm is really, really prone to come off the ball joint. It is not very well secured. So that's unfortunate. I do love the little paint job homage on him. And again, this one will be familiar. It's the Galvatron head, which does have a little bit more of a menacing look to him than, say, just giving him the G1 Megatron head instead. Now, this one is color matched to the Japanese version of Skullcruncher, but I will go ahead and attach him to the American version because that's the one I have. And, you know, it's a close enough match. You can pretty much get away with it. The colors are not quite that far off. You know, I do wish the face and the pink of the toy were a little bit closer together. That's about the only downside here, but yeah. That was how you're supposed to get your Mega Alligator, you know, Megatron Alligator. I do kind of wish they just went with a separate figure of their own, but, you know, I'll take what I can get, because this is still, like, a really cool thing to include. They absolutely didn't have to, and that's pretty much the name of the game for this figure. There is a lot that they included that they really didn't have to in order to make this a really interesting set. And this didn't even mention the comic book these came with. Yeah, full-size comic book, not a little mini thing. So that is ConvoBat, the eHobby exclusive that I really, really wanted for a long time, but had to wait for HLJ to put it on sale. Even then, it's still a little bit expensive to go in on because of its exclusive nature. At full price, you really, really have to love the idea of getting a modern mechanical version of the Optimus Primal Bat toy. Now, if you have nostalgic for that figure, this will probably be a must-have, but for most, Wait for it to go on sale again. I think there's just a few too many QC issues between a few loose joints here and the warped plastic that is going to keep it from really feeling like you're getting that huge, like really bang for your buck price that the standard price point would have you believe. But that said, if you do get it on sale, congrats, because it's a really, really well done homage to a very, very strange figure that most people tend to forget about. And every now and then, I really like it when they do that.